You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 parts. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Part 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Part 1. You will hear a teenager asking about joining a film club. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hi, can I help you?
Yeah, I saw on the internet that you have a film club here at the cinema, but there wasn't a lot about it. Can you tell me a bit more?
Yes, we're still setting up the web page. Sorry about that. We only started the club a few months ago. It's been very popular right from the beginning. We have regular film showings and there are lots of other benefits.
How often does the club meet?
Every 2 weeks, on Thursday nights.
OK. And I'm 16, so could I join?
Sure. People of any age can join.
Right. So how much does it cost to join?
Well, it depends. The basic charge is £24 a season, but for people eligible for concessions, it's £21.50.
I'm a student.
You'd get the concession rate then.
That's good.
That entitles you to free entry to the club films and also to £2 off tickets for all other films on at the cinema. So you'd pay £4.50 instead of £6.50.
Great. OK.
Now, I don't know if this applies to you, but club members are also eligible for 3 hours complimentary parking when there's a film on.
Well, I don't drive, but my girlfriend does, so it might be useful, yes. OK, well, I'd definitely like to join.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Can you give me any information about the next few films you're showing?
I'm afraid we've run out of leaflets for this season, so I'll tell you about the next few films and hopefully we'll have all the details on the internet soon. So the next meeting's this Thursday, October the 14th, and that's a film called Pablo.
Ah, I read the reviews of that. It's set in Argentina, isn't it? About a child who's run away from home?
That's right. It just came out recently.
And the kid somehow gets on TV and he wins a dance competition or something.
A singing competition, yeah. I haven't seen it either, but it tells you on the posters. Yes, it sounds really good.
Well, I definitely want to see that. What's on after that?
On October the 28th, there's an American film called The Soldier. That's an old silent movie. But in this showing, we have someone who'll accompany it on the piano, just like they used to in the old cinemas, though it was sometimes an organ accompaniment in those days.
Must be a pretty old film then. When did they release the first talkies? 1926 or 27?
Yes, well, this was made in 1922, so well before. Though I think they had short feature films with sound by 1923, actually.
So what sort of film is it?
Well, it's billed as a comedy, though you'd think it was a war film from the title. I don't know much about the plot. We don't have much information, though you could always look it up on the internet.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Then the next film after that, so that'll be, let's see, the 11th of November, is a film about animals. And it's just called Tiger. And that's a cartoon film, which makes it sound as if it's for children, but actually it's aimed at adults, and it's really quite frightening in places. I saw it when it first came out.
What's it about?
It's got no humans in it at all. It's just about the effect of environmental changes millions of years ago on the animals who lived then. It's a really strange film. There's a talk afterwards given by the director, so that should be very popular. You'll need to book early for that, I should think.
Right. Well, thanks for all that. Now, if you can give me the application form...
Sure.
That is the end of Part 1. You now have 1 minute to check your answers to Part 1. Section 2. You will hear a manager talking to company employees about moving to a new office building. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16 on page 3. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 16.
Thank you for coming to today's meeting, everyone. I'd like to give you some information about moving to our new office building so that you know what the plans are. So, first, let me explain why we're moving. Even though we've taken on quite a few new employees over the last year, we still have plenty of space here, but the problem is where we are. But we've now found the perfect place in the city centre. Originally, we chose this building in the suburbs because the rent was much cheaper, but our clients aren't always keen on coming out here. I visited the new office last week, and I'm pretty sure that you'll find the greatest advantage is the huge windows. I'm not sure we'll need desk lamps at all. Of course, we'll have everything checked out to make sure we can control the temperature of each office, and we may have to put some room dividers in some offices so that you're not disturbed by your colleagues' conversations. We've just set a date for the move. The finance department wanted us to wait until after the end of the tax year, April, but we've decided to move earlier. As soon as the sales conference is over in January, we'll move. That'll give us plenty of time to organise everything before you start taking your annual holidays. We've already put quite a bit of information about the move on the company website, like restaurants and cafes around the new office, but we're still checking bus routes and things like that, so transport information will be up by next Monday. Another thing still to get confirmed is which car park we can use and how many people can use it. OK, let's move on to some practical things you have to do now. Don't worry yet about taking home your photos and things like that. That can be sorted out much nearer the time, along with getting rid of any unwanted paperwork. We need to find out how many new desks and chairs to order, so could you make a list of any of the ones you use that are scratched or broken? Just one thing, all documents containing non-confidential information can go into the general packing boxes, but when it comes to documents containing confidential information, you'll need to put these in special bags. You'll be given grey plastic ones for this. So one thing to do now is go through your filing cabinets and identify which folders are confidential.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20 on page 4. Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20.
Now, to help you prepare for the move, I'd like to talk about lifting heavy things. You shouldn't really have to do this because a removal company will be used, but you might want to move a box out of your way or something. It's surprising how often people don't remember to use the handles on the boxes, although they all have them. You've all had the leaflet explaining that you should keep your back straight and your head up when lifting. And it also tells you to stand with your feet firmly on the ground and a little bit apart, so I think that's clear. But the leaflet emphasises the importance of not twisting to the left or right once you've picked something up, and if you're like me, that's easy to forget. I'd also like to talk about papers. If they've been stored for a long time, they can get mould on them, a sort of fungus, and as soon as you start moving them, the fungus gets disturbed. As you know, you can't open the windows in this building, but I suggest you use the gloves that we'll provide. We'll also get some face masks, but we've been advised that these shouldn't be necessary. What you should do is drink 1 or 2 litres of water a day. That's essential. Often the best time to do this sort of work is after your afternoon break, so that you can leave the building soon afterwards. Now, are there any questions?
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3 on page 5.
Part 3.
You will hear a conversation between an undergraduate student, David, and his tutor, Dr. Smith, about David's plans for doing a master's degree. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 26.
Right. Well, David, I think it's a good idea to talk a little about your plans for going on to do an MA. Now, I understand you're thinking in terms of either Forth College or Haynes College?
That's right. Well, so far anyway.
No, I think that's a good choice to have narrowed it down to.
I'm interested to know how the services to support students work in both places.
Yes, I know you've needed to make use of those here in the last year. I have to say I'm not absolutely sure about the situation at Haynes. I expect they're all right, but certainly Forth has a good reputation in that regard. They have a large number of students from abroad, and they have to make sure they're okay.
That's reassuring. And then I'll be moving city again, obviously, whichever college I go to, and I hope that the room or flat I could expect would be nice.
Very important, yes. These days, actually, all colleges tend to have decent quality rooms or flats for their students, and Forth and Haynes are no exception.
Right. Well, what about comparisons on the academic side of things?
Well, I know you're an avid user of the limited online provision we have here. I think you'll find Haynes is about as developed, or not, as we are here, and that Forth has developed some pretty impressive stuff, which I'm sure you'd make the most of.
Well, I'd certainly try.
But that doesn't mean that the more traditional information sources, such as the good old-fashioned library, should be forgotten.
No, of course not.
While Forth has recently had a very splendid law library opened, that isn't particularly relevant for you, and I think you'd find Haynes' general university and faculty collections better suited to your needs. But that's something you could check for yourself if you visit both places.
Which I'm planning to do next month.
Good. Now there's the question of the lecturing staff, which is clearly going to be key to your progress. I think you'd find them adequate at Forth. There are some solid people working there, while Haynes have recently taken on some inspirational people, very cutting edge. It's a little hard to judge, though, because as a research student, it's not as if you have teaching all day, every day.
No, I guess not. But I'll need to consult.
Yes, and on the subject of research, in terms of the college's reputation for results, again, neither place is bad in any way, but I think you'll find, and you can check this on the Research Council's website, that Haynes has consistently scored very well. There's perhaps a little bit of an issue with non-completing doctorate students at Forth.
Well, I'll certainly look at the website as you suggest.
Fine.
Now you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 27 to 30.
I'm still a bit anxious about making this next step. I know the level of competition is very high, especially in my area. It makes me feel rather daunted, and I wonder if in a new place I may be out on my own, if you know what I mean, compared to the sense of community here. I suppose it'll be down to my determination to succeed to get me through.
Well, do remember how you felt when you arrived here. I'm sure you'll get on anywhere in the end.
I hope so.
And of course, you still don't know exactly where you want to end up. By the time you've completed your masters, you'll have a clearer idea of whether you want to progress to doctorate level. It's possible, I suppose, that you'll begin to see how much you might be interested in picking up some bits of lecturing earlier than that, since your area's fairly specialised, and it may put you in demand sooner than you think. To establish yourself in your area of expertise, it would be sensible to think in terms of getting your stuff into one or two of the journals, converting parts of your dissertation into suitable formats for them. That'll stand you in good stead, whatever else you decide to do.
That sounds like good advice, thanks.
Actually, I think master's level studying has improved in some ways over the last few years. The internet you love so much was always going to make all kinds of studying easier. Or that's the idea, anyway. I'm not sure it really has the impact you might think. What I've found impressive is the way courses have developed to be more adaptable, more able to fit in with all the other demands in people's lives. So, while the exams and assignments you all have to do may not have shifted much, at least a wider range of students are now able to benefit from education at the higher levels.
I just wish I could be sure I was always making the best use of my opportunities. At the end of each week, I usually feel I could have got more done, arranged things differently, been more efficient somehow. I've got a lot better at taking down notes during seminars and lectures, which means, I think, that my written work has benefited to some degree, so there's progress on some fronts at any rate.
Yes, it's interesting seeing...
That is the end of Part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 3.
Practice of the day. You will hear a man from a tax agency introducing taxation. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello all. Thank you for attending tonight's presentation. I am Mr. Dawkins from the Central Government Tax Agency, and I am here to provide you with information regarding filing and paying your taxes. First off, let me tell you that in preparing to file your taxes, evidence that can confirm your actual income has to be adequate. Then it should be submitted to the local authority. You can't just guess what your income was, or you may be charged a large sum of penalty. Income can come in different forms, including wage statements, independent freelancer statements. Currently, apart from invoices, we also take bank statements. Our tax period usually lasts for 1 year. Different states have different policies, but here it runs from April to the end of March next year. All of your current supervisors within the tax period are required to provide you with a wage statement. If you have not received an annual wage statement within 1 month of the end of the fiscal year, you should contact us and we will request them to send this statement immediately. But you need to ask your employers to provide the employment statement, because that's something we can't help. A failure to pay, along with the evasion of or resistance to taxation, is punishable by law. If you do not file an annual tax return, you may find that you will have to pay a penalty, up to $3,000 in some instances. So you'd better file your taxes promptly, since the government does not tolerate this. Everyone should make sure they file a tax return in a timely manner.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, I suppose you have known something about tax. They are very important. I hope you can always keep them in mind. And here are some random tips which are also helpful. When you purchase a new car during the tax period, please note that you will need to work out the latest tax rate and pay a line item tax for this. For those who just started getting to know tax filing, I do not recommend that you take multiple types of taxes into consideration at your first attempt. The calculation will be more straightforward with just one type of tax. Please know that most people use their computers to deal with their taxes. When using your computer to do your taxes or subscribe to an online tax service, you will find many advantages that don't exist when you do it at an office. One of the advantages of preparing your taxes online is that you can save whatever information you have gathered and then resume your preparations at another time. In doing this, since the tax information won't take much of the storage space, you don't have to worry about whether your computer will be able to accommodate the information you have gathered. Also, in doing your taxes online or in using an online tax service, you will find that mistakes are less likely to happen, as the online tax preparation programs have safeguards to prevent you from omitting required information. Generally, to begin working on your taxes, you will go to the tax office and inquire the office workers and finally fill in some forms. But for now, you can go to our website and download some. If necessary, you can take some time to complete a questionnaire, which will give you advice on which type of form you should fill in. If there are any questions you cannot answer, you can call to speak to someone in person. Thank you for attending tonight's presentation. Please know that my Central Government Tax Agency associates and I are always willing to help you with your tax preparation by answering any questions you might have.
That is the end of today's practice.